Your Excellency, Mr. President, my colleague ministers, distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me, first of all, on behalf of the government of Mauritius, of my delegation, of the Indian Ocean Commission, whose delegates are here this morning, to thank you for the kind invitation extended to all of us, and especially for the warm hospitality extended by the Estonians to each and every one of us. Speaking last, I think I'd better leave the iPad Pro on the settee there and think of what to say to attract your attention, especially as we have already taken half of the coffee break. So I'll start by saying this. As opposed to the Faroe Island, you are 1,400 square kilometers. We are less than 2,000 square kilometers. But similar to Estonia, where you are about 1.3 million, we are just below 1.3 million people. We are a small island developing state, but surprisingly, we've got more mobile phones in Mauritius than people, which I thought, when I took up the post of Minister of IT 2 months ago, was quite surprising. Especially because I was the third IT minister of Mauritius when I was appointed in 2005 for the first time. Then, the government wanted to make of IT the fifth pillar of the economy. But by the time I left office in 2008, IT had become the third pillar of the economy. Today, it is still the third pillar and contributes 6.4% to the economy of the country. However, I hear so much about e-governance, and to me, e-governance is only one of the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. To me, it is first of all about democracy. Democracy, with the Greek word demos for people, and kratein to rule. We rule for the people, or by the people, and we rule with the people. Why I'm saying that is because very often, I am one of the most unliked ministers in the public service, because I keep taking them to task. To them, e-governance means that they have to find a way of getting the job done more quickly so that they might have more time to do other things. To me, e-governance means having a citizen-centric approach where the life of the citizen is made, more practical, where the citizen gets more time to do other things, like stopping to queue and so on and so forth. Now let me tell you a few of the things around e-governance which the government of Mauritius thought we should do in order to actually make life better. First of all, I was very happy that I was able, about 2 months ago, to launch 100 Mbps for the internet downloading for home. 100 megabits, per second is really not bad for a country which is, about 20,000 miles away, lost in the middle of the ocean. Countries, I always say countries complain of being landlocked. We are sea-locked, So another thing which I'm very happy, and I hope I'll be able to see it happen, is that we are hoping that by the end of next year, we will have put fiber to the home all around the island. Now, it's quite funny because when I say that, the big countries say, well, that's easy, you're so small. Well, in every other sphere, the big countries are at an advantage, and they never complain then that, they are having a better piece of the cake. Now, all that is to be put in perspective. That is, I'll give you an example. I heard one of the speakers speak about tax. when I speak about a citizen-centric approach, let me give you the income tax reality of Mauritius. 93% of the people, we have set up an income tax system whereby 93% of the population does not pay income tax. Only 7% of the population pay income tax. And I was quite happy because I saw a note about Estonia saying that you're charging 21% income tax and that for the next financial year it's going to go down to 20. Well, I'm so happy. And you're most welcome. We charge only 15% income tax and also 15% corporation tax. So what I'm trying to say is, when you are a small country, e-governance is not only an enabler. The ICT sector itself becomes an engine of growth. It becomes a facilitator of life. In fact, we don't want it. I mean, I was very attentive to His Excellency the President speaking about the loss of jobs. I do not want, as IT Minister, to have all those digitized facilities to have as end result the loss of jobs. I would like to see all the digitized facilities existing to improve lives. And to me, the loss of jobs is not a way of improving life. So there is a balance, and I would rather forego, I hope I'll strike your attention here, I would rather forego some e-administration elements. I would rather forego some e-governance setup if it would have as a result to put people out of work. I think that our first and foremost duties as decision makers is to ensure that the lives of people are made better. In fact, I'll tell you an anecdote, a personal anecdote. My late father once said to me, "What's the point?" He sent me to Oxford. I have a BA, MA from Oxford. I have a third law degree from the Sorbonne. And I have an associate research fellowship from the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies of the University of London. And he said to me, "What was the point to send you to all those schools? Then you go into politics." Well, it's because I want to make things better for people. And that is why I was so happy. Some people might not have been happy, because until March, I had a prestigious job. Until March, I was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration, and International Trade of the Republic of Mauritius. But I was asked to take over the Ministry of IT. But I did so graciously, because I believe there's so much that can be done. From the third pillar of the economy, when I left it in 2008, I hope that, among other things, with e-governance, we will be able to make of IT, the first pillar of the economy. Maybe one thing, couple of quick more things I should say before we break up for coffee, is, firstly, one of the great achievements which I believe Mauritius has done in the field of IT, digitization, and so on, is that 11 years ago, I was appointed Minister of IT and Telecommunications. This time, the decision maker has enlarged the concept. We believe that IT and telecommunications alone are not good enough. I am now the Minister of Technology, Communication, and Innovation. We believe that the concept is much wider. So just as e-governance is one of the segments of the ICT sector, and that the ICT sector itself is one of the segments for better development, we believe now that IT alone is not good enough. We must look at it in the context of technology, in the context of innovation. Last thing I'd like to say, two last things. I heard in the course of a meeting earlier at the end of last weekend that politicians happen to act too much intuitively and not enough based on facts, on evidence, on figures. Well, I claim to act much more on facts and figures. But I must say, however, that sometimes it has happened to me to act instinctively. And here I must thank one of the speakers, I think, who belongs to the Center of IT Impact Studies, Mr. Christian Vassil, because he came up, on Friday with this algorithm to show how, on projections for e-services in Estonia, you're likely to have 123 new e-services every year for the next 3 years. And I felt, oh, too bad. Because not as far back as 3 weeks ago, I went to Cabinet and I said, next financial year, gentlemen, I'm proposing to come up with 50 new e-services. It's not 123, there was no algorithm, it was just, my instinctive sort of belief. So maybe I'll have to speak to Mr. Vassil later to see now how to rationalize that. Last thing, promise. Mauritius, and that's why, that's one of the reasons for which I am here. Mauritius is a partner. Mauritius is not a competitor. Now, part of the things we've done to show people we are partners, and here, I'll just explain to you, like, for example, you have any foreigner, for example, wishing to come to any country today, has a number of, procedures to comply with. He has to apply for a work permit, he has to get a residence permit, he needs justifications, and so on and so forth. And as His Excellency, Mr. President said, sometimes it takes long months. Well, what we've done to show to people that we mean business, if you apply for what is a mixture of a residence and a work permit, it's called an occupational permit. So if any non-citizen applies for an occupational permit to come and work in Mauritius, if after submitting all your documents, you don't receive a response from the authorities within 3 clear working days, your application to reside and work in Mauritius is deemed to have been approved. So for all those interested, by the way, Mauritius is the best springboard into Africa. I'm sure that you don't all have to go to the United States. Mauritius being the best springboard into Africa, we can do good business helping you to capture, there are 54 African states which are members of the African Union. You've got another economic bloc called the Southern African Development Community, which has 15 member states. We have a third economic bloc called the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, which has 19 states. And the latest economic bloc, which we have just set up, was last year in June, called the Tripartite Free Trade Area. That consists of 26 states, making up a population of about 632 million people, and weighing a turnover, a GDP of $1.3 trillion. I'm sure we can do good business. Thank you for your attention.